Question number 61 is pertaining to the Digital Northeast Vision 2022. Now this is a vision document which was released in Guwahati, Assam by the Union Minister of Electronics and Information Technology, Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad. And it was at the same time that first electronics manufacturing cluster in the northeastern region was also inaugurated in Guwahati, Assam. Now the main emphasis for launching this vision document is to leverage digital technologies which will transform lives of people in the Northeast by enhancing the ease of living. This vision document has identified 8 digital thrust areas which includes digital infrastructure, digital services, promotion of electronics manufacturing, digital empowerment, promotion of ITs including BPOs, digital payments, innovation and startups, and also cyber security. So these will be the 8 digital areas wherein the Digital Northeast Vision 2022 will be dealing. Finally, it is important to note that this initiative is envisioned as an integral part of Digital India program, and the use of information technology will help in the overall development of the Northeast region. Now, in light of this information, let us go back to a question. It is asking that the government has recently released a vision document, namely Digital Northeast Vision 2022, and the main aim of this vision document is. So the first statement is capacity building, and this statement will be correct because capacity building is one of the main aim of vision document via digital help. Secondly, the other aim of this document is to enhance the ease of living. So we have discussed this, that leveraging digital technology will enhance the ease of living for the northeastern people. Therefore, this statement is also correct. The third statement says that preparing national registers of citizens for all individuals residing in the region is a part of vision document. Now, this statement is incorrect because the document does not pertain to the National Register of Citizens for the entire Northeast region. Rather, this National Register for Citizens is made compulsory only for the residents of Assam, which is done in order to facilitate the provisions of Assam Accord. Therefore, this statement will be incorrect. Let's move on to the next one. It says that another aim of this vision document is to improve digital infrastructure and digital services of this region. Now we know that this is the main aim for launching this initiative. Therefore, it is also correct. So our final answer would be option B, that is statement 1, 2 and 4 are correct. Please also have a look at the explanations. Question number 62 contains 2 statements which are dealing with the criminalization of begging. So let us first understand the background to this recent development. Now, under the Bombay Prevention of Begging Act 1959, begging was considered as a criminal offence and the same was extended to Delhi by Central Government Amendment in 1960. However, this act has recently been in news because the Delhi High Court has decided to decriminalize the act of begging and has held that the Begging Act 1959 violates the Article 14 and Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. Now, Article 14 is pertaining to equality before law and Article 21 is pertaining to right to life and personal liberty. And it is held that both these rights are violated if begging is considered to be a criminal offence. Also, we must know the exact definition of begging as per the anti-begging law, which says that soliciting or receiving money, clothes or other things ordinarily given to a beggar in a public place without doing any activity is considered as begging. Now, in light of this information, let us go back to our question. The first statement says that Delhi High Court in a recent judgment has criminalized the act of begging in a public place. Now, this statement will be incorrect because we have just discussed that recently Delhi High Court has decriminalized the act of begging instead of criminalizing. Secondly, begging includes soliciting or receiving alms in a public place. So this is the definition of begging which we have already discussed. So this is going to be a correct statement. Therefore, our final answer would be option B, that is only the second statement is correct. Please also have a look at the explanations. Question number 63 is pertaining to the Smart Cities mission which happened in 2015. So let us first understand some key points about this mission. So Smart Cities mission was launched with an aim to promote sustainable and inclusive cities so that they can provide core infrastructure and give a decent quality of life to their citizens. Also, a clean and sustainable environment and application of smart solutions will be done in these smart cities. It is important to note that these sustainable and inclusive cities will act like a lighthouse for other aspiring smart cities. Now, apart from the elements of core infrastructure such as public transport, solid waste management, water supply, etc., there are some strategic components which are peculiar to the smart city mission, and these include city improvement, that is retrofitting, city renewal, that is redevelopment, and city extension, plus a pan city initiative in which smart solutions which we have discussed will be applied to cover larger parts of the city. Now, the reason for explaining these strategic components was that ideas like retrofitting and redevelopment of the existing areas is going to be very beneficial. For example, if we have a slum, by the means of transforming these areas by retrofitting and redeveloping, we can make a better planned human settlement, and this will improve the livability of whole cities, plus we will be able to accommodate the rapidly expanding population in urban areas. Therefore, these strategic components are very helpful for us. Also, this comprehensive development is going to be very helpful in improving the quality of life for the citizens. And apart from this, these measures will help create employment and enhance income for all citizens, especially the poor and the disadvantaged, which will lead to inclusive cities. And lastly, we need to remember one more important thing, that is the selection process which will be required for selecting the smart cities. Now, the selection process for smart cities will be done in two stages, which is not that important for us. However, we need to remember that the segregation is based on the idea of competitive and cooperative federalism, and it is the idea upon which we are going to segregate the selection of smart cities. Now, in light of this information, let us go back to our statements. The first one says that Smart Cities Mission was launched under the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. So this is a correct statement, as the nodal ministry implementing the scheme is Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Secondly, the selection process of smart cities is based on the idea of competitive federalism. Now, we have just discussed that the selection process is bounded by the idea of competitive and cooperative federalism. Therefore, the second statement is going to be correct. The third statement says that Smart Cities Mission will facilitate the rapidly expanding population of cities. Now, this is a correct statement because we have just discussed that the strategic components such as retrofitting and redevelopment will help transform the existing areas such as slums into a better area, which will help us accommodate the expanding population. Now, the next statement says that this mission aims to create employment and enhance income for all, especially the poor and the disadvantaged group. Now, this statement is again correct because we spoke about the idea of comprehensive development, which is one of the major agenda of Smart Cities mission, and this will in turn lead to the income augmentation and employment, especially with respect to the poor population. Therefore, our final answer would be option D, that is all statements are correct. Please also have a look at the explanations. Question number 64 deals with the integrated theatre command, and in this respect we need to identify that which among these three statements are correct. So this integrated theatre command is a unified command of three services under a single commander, and this was done with the aim of strengthening India's military muscle. Now let us first understand the background behind the Integrated Theatre Command. So a committee of experts under the chairmanship of Lieutenant General D.B. Shrikatkar was constituted to recommend measures to enhance combat capability and rebalance defense expenditure of the armed forces. And in order to deal with this, the committee led by D.B. Shrikatkar has recommended a creation of 3 integrated theatre commands which will be present in the areas of China border, Pakistan border and for maritime security. And these 3 integrated theatre commands will be crucial in modern warfare where a premium is put on joint planning and operations. Now let us also understand some features of the integrated theatre command. Now firstly, the integrated theatre command will be able to freely train, equip and exercise his command for achieving designated goals. Secondly, he will not be answerable to any individual services. And lastly, he will be equipped with the logistic resources which are required to support the operations. Now, in light of this information, let us go back to our question. The first statement says that integrated theatre command envisages a unified command of 3 services under a single commander. Now we know that this statement is correct as we have just discussed that 3 services will be under a single commander. Secondly, the integrated theatre commander will be answerable to individual services. Now this statement is going to be incorrect because he will not be answerable to any individual service. Now the third statement says that Shrikatkar committee recommended creation of 3 integrated theatre commands along China border, Pakistan border and for maritime security. So we have just discussed this under the background part. So this statement is also going to be correct. So our final answer would be option B, that is statement 1 and 3 are correct. Please also have a look at the explanations. Question number 65 deals with the special provisions given to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So let us directly jump to the statements. The first one says that Article 35A grants the status of permanent residency to the residents of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, in order to answer this statement, let us understand something about the Article 35A. So, this article empowers the Jammu and Kashmir state's legislature to define permanent residents of the state and provide special rights and privileges to these permanent residents. Also, under 35A, the state legislature of Jammu and Kashmir is empowered to frame any law without attracting a challenge on the grounds of violating the right to equality of people from any other states or any other right under the constitution. And it is due to these irrational and special provisions given to the state of Jammu and Kashmir that a larger debate on the constitutional validity of this article along with the Article 370 has been going on and is thus important for us to analyze. Also, it is important to note that 35A article has been added to the constitution by the Presidential Order of 1954 and it is placed under Article 370. So let us use this information on 35A and try and answer our question. Now we know that Article 35A grants the status of permanent residency to the residents of Jammu and Kashmir because this is a provision under 35A. Secondly, Article 35A was added to the Indian Constitution through an amendment under Article 368. Now this is incorrect because first of all it was added under Article 370 and secondly it was not added through an amendment, rather it was added by Presidential Order of 1954. Therefore, the statement will be incorrect. Now the third statement says that the basic structure of the constitution cannot be altered or amended by the parliament or executive. Now this is a correct statement because it is the final judgment of Case 1 and Bharti case, which held that the amending power of parliament cannot be exercised in such a manner which will destroy the basic or fundamental features of the constitution. Moreover, the fourth statement says that Parliament enjoys unlimited power to amend any provision of the Constitution. Now this statement is absolutely contradictory to statement 3 and therefore it is going to be incorrect because we have just understood that under the final judgment of Case 1 and Bharti case, it was held that the basic structure of the Constitution cannot be amended by the Parliament. Therefore, our final answer would be option C, That is, statement 1 and 3 are correct. Please also have a look at the explanations. There is extra information on what features of the Constitution cannot be amended. Question number 66 is dealing with the Indradhanush plan, and we need to identify that which among the following statements are components of this plan. So let us first understand something about the Indradhanush plan. It is already mentioned in the question that this plan was introduced for revamping the public sector banks in India. Now we know that public sector banks play a vital role in India's economy. However, in the past years, due to recurrent formulation of non-performing assets or NPAs, the functioning and efficiency of public sector banks has declined, and it has resulted in the lower profitability of public sector banks. It was thus to address these issues and revive the fortunes of public sector banks that the government decided to unveil the Indradhanush plan, which focused on the systematic changes in state-run lenders and included a fresh look at hiring along with a comprehensive plan to de-stress bloated lenders. There is also a focus on capital infusion, accountability incentives with higher rewards, which includes stock options and cleaning up governance. It is important to note that this plan consisted of 7 elements, and these include appointments, Bank of Board Bureau, capitalization, de-stressing public sector banks, empowerment, framework of accountability, and governance reforms. Now, in light of this information, let us go back to our question and identify that which among the following statements are the elements of Indradhanush plan. Now, setting up of Bank Board Bureau was discussed among the 7 elements of Indradhanush plan. So, this statement is going to be correct. The second statement says capitalization of banks, which is the primary reason this mission was introduced. Therefore, this is correct. The third statement says disinvestment of public sector banks. Now, this is incorrect because there is de-stressing of public sector banks, not disinvestment. The fourth statement says reducing NPAs of banks. This is going to be correct because we know that the primary aim of Indradhanush plan was to capitalize the banks along with reducing non-performing assets. Therefore, our final answer would be option B, that is statement 1, 2 and 4 are correct. Please have a look at the explanations. There is also a mention of the difference between Mission Indradhanush and Indradhanush plan. So please read that as well. Question number 67 contains 3 statements which are dealing with the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Abhiyan. So let us first understand something about this scheme. Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Abhiyan is also known as the Ayush Bharat scheme, and it was announced to provide healthcare facilities to the section of the society who cannot afford it. This scheme targets to cover 10 crore vulnerable families, that is approximately 50 crore beneficiaries, and will provide health cover up to rupees 5 lakh per family per year. The beneficiaries of this scheme will be identified from the socio-economic caste census. That is, the scheme is going to target poor, deprived rural families and identified occupational category of urban worker families. It is important to note that these beneficiaries identified under the Ayushman Bharat scheme will be allowed to take cashless benefits from any public/private impaneled hospitals across the country. A drawback, however, to this scheme is that it does not cover outpatient expenses, that is expenses incurred during diagnostic tests or buying medicines, etc. Now, in light of this information, let us go back to our question. The first statement says that this health insurance scheme provides free coverage of up to 5 lakh per family per year. Now, we have just discussed that this is the main aim, that is to cover 10 crore families, 5 lakh per family per year. So, this is a correct statement. The second one says that the beneficiaries under this scheme are to be identified based on socio-economic caste census. So, this is again correct, as we have just discussed that the beneficiaries will be identified through the socio-economic caste census. Moving on, the third one says that the scheme covers insurance for outpatient expenses such as diagnostic tests and medicines. Now, this statement is going to be incorrect because we know that the scheme does not cover outpatient expenses at this moment. So our final answer would be option B, that is statement 1 and 2 are correct. Please also have a look at the explanations. Question number 68 is dealing with the National Health Policy 2017, which was approved last year. Now, the main aim of the scheme is to achieve universal health coverage and delivering quality healthcare services to all at affordable cost. Also, National Health Policy envisages the collaboration from the private sector. Now, in order to achieve this universal health coverage and quality healthcare services, NHP has proposed to raise the public health expenditure to 2.5% of the GDP in a time-bound manner. Also, the policy is envisaging to create a comprehensive primary healthcare through health and wellness centers, and this will be done by allocating major resources to the primary care, which is successively followed by the secondary and tertiary care. Now, in order to create financial protection at secondary and tertiary care levels, this policy is proposing free drugs, free diagnostics, and free emergency care services in all public hospitals. Now, in light of this information, let us go back to our statements. The first one says that NHP aims to increase the government's expenditure on health to 2.5% of the GDP, and the time bound which is decided is 2025. So this is a correct statement. The second statement says that the policy advocates allocating major proportion of resources to the primary care, which is followed by the secondary and tertiary care. So we knew that the main aim of this policy is to provide health coverage and quality services at an affordable cost. And in order to do that, the major allocation of resources is done in the primary healthcare, which is followed by the secondary and tertiary care. So this statement is also correct. So our final answer would be option C, that is both the statements are correct. Please also have a look at the explanations. Question number 69 deals with Ek Dunya Anek Awaz, and we need to identify that which among the following options are associated with it. So EDAA, short form for Ek Dunya Anek Awaz, is a web-based free and open audio content and resource exchange platform for community radio broadcasters. And its main aim is to facilitate the meaningful utilization of resources while breaking the geographical boundaries. Now let us also discuss the associated bodies with EDAA. So it was conceptualized, powered and anchored by One World South Asia. So it is important. Secondly, this initiative is catalyzed, coordinated and supported by the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. And lastly, Commonwealth Educational Media Center for Asia is a strategic partner in this initiative. Now, this is all we need to know about EDAA, and with this information, let us try and solve our question. So, Ek Dunya and Ek Awaz is an initiative by Ministry of Information and Broadcasting for connecting community radio stations across South Asia, which is option B. Please also have a look at the explanations. Question number 70 deals with a concept known as Asian Premium, and we need to identify that which among the following options best explain this concept. So Asian Premium is a concept wherein it is believed that Asian continent countries are required to pay higher for the import of crude oil from OPEC countries as compared to the rich Western countries, that is the US and other European nations. And this concept has been a recurrent theme in the current time period due to the fluctuating prices of crude oil. Hence, it's going to be an important topic. Now, it is due to this Asian Premium that the Indian government will be raising this issue in the meeting of the International Energy Forum, to which it is a member. Now, in light of this information, let us come back to our question. Our final answer would be option B, that is Asian Premium refers to the additional cost being collected by the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries from Asian countries when selling crude oil. So our final answer is option B. Please also have a look at the explanations. There is extra information given on OPEC and International Energy Forum. Question number 71 is dealing with the POCSO Act 2012. Now let us first understand what this act is. So it was established to protect children against offences like sexual abuse, sexual harassment and pornography. and it was defined that a child is any person who is below 18 years of age. Now, this act has been recently in news due to the horrific cases of Kathua and Unnao, after which the Union Cabinet decided to clear an ordinance on POCSO Act, wherein death penalty was given to those convicted of raping children up to 12 years of age. It is important to note that the Act provides that if a person is putting up a false report or providing untrue information, he or she will be imprisoned for 6 months or will be penalized with a fine. Another important point to note is that for speedy trial of such kind of cases, POCSO special courts have been established and they come under the mandate of National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. Now, in light of this information, let us go back to our question. The first statement says that high courts of respective states have been mandated to monitor the setting up of POCSO special courts for speedy trial. Now, this statement is going to be incorrect, as we have just discussed that although there is a provision for special courts for speedy trial, however, these do not come under the mandate of high courts, rather they come under the mandate of National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. Moving on, the second statement says that the Act provides a penalty for 6 months for false reporting. We have just discussed it and it is going to be correct. Now, the third statement says that only a male can be tried and punished under this Act. Now, this statement is going to be incorrect because unlike rape laws, POCSO is gender neutral. Hence, both men and women can be prosecuted for the offences under the Act. Therefore, our final answer would be option B, that is only the second statement is correct. Please also have a look at the explanations. Question number 72 contains 3 statements which are dealing with the prison reforms in India. So let us directly jump to the statement. The modernization and reform of prison system in India was started by T.B. Macaulay. Now, this statement is correct, as we know that Macaulay had a great interest in organizing the penal system of India, and it was under him that Indian Penal Code was codified. Moving on to the second statement, it says that prisons is a concurrent list subject under list 3 of the 7th schedule. Now, this statement is incorrect because prisons form a part under state list, which is list 2 of the 7th schedule of the Indian Constitution. Now, the third statement says that Justice Mullah and Justice Krishna Iyer committees are associated with prison reforms in India post-independence. This is again a correct statement because Mullah Committee was an All India Committee on Jail Reforms which was constituted during 1980 to 1983, and just after Mullah Committee, Justice Krishna Iyer Committee was also constituted in the year 1987 with the aim of tackling women prisoners. Therefore, we can see that both the committees came after independence and were dealing with prison reforms. Therefore, statement 3 is correct. So, our final answer would be option B, that is statement 1 and 3 are correct. Please also have a look at the explanations. Question number 73 is pertaining to the amendments done to the Representation of People's Act Bill in 2017. So let us first understand what were the amendments that were done to this bill. Now, the Representation of People's Amendment Act 2010 for the first time gave a provision wherein non-residential Indians were allowed to vote. However, the problem was that they were required to be physically present in their respective constituencies if they wanted to vote during the elections. Now, it was due to this constraint of being physically present in order to vote that in 2017, an amendment was sought in order to permit the overseas voters or non-resident Indians to cast their vote either in person or by proxy in the constituency where the poll is taken. However, important point to note is that this right is only available to NRIs and not ordinary residents of India. Another important aim which the bill seeks to do is to make certain provisions in the Act more gender neutral. For example, by replacing the word wife with spouse. Now, in light of this information, let us go back to our questions. The first statement says that the bill aims to provide non-resident Indians with voting rights for the first time. Now, this is an incorrect statement because voting right to NRIs was first given during RPA 2010. So this is not the first time that NRIs will be allowed to vote. Secondly, the bill provides a resident Indian citizen with the option to cast a proxy vote if he or she is not present in his electoral constituency. Now this statement is incorrect because this provision is only for non-residential Indians and not for residential Indians. Therefore, our final answer would be option D, that is neither 1 nor statement 2 is correct. Please also have a look at the explanations. Question number 74 is dealing with the Global Livability Index 2018, and we have to identify that which of the following statements are correct in this respect. So let us first understand something about this Global Livability Index. It is published annually by the Economist Intelligence Unit. So we must remember who publishes this index. Apart from this, the index is responsible for ranking 140 cities globally for their urban quality of life. In this respect, let us also understand some of the parameters upon which these cities are assessed. So the assessment is based on stability, healthcare, culture, environment, education and infrastructure. Now in light of this information, let us go back to our question. So the first statement says that it is published annually by the Economist Intelligence Unit. This is a correct statement. The second statement says that it ranks the world cities on the parameters of safety and incidence of crimes. We have already discussed the parameters of Global Livability Index. However, safety and incidence of crimes is not included in it. Therefore, this is an incorrect statement. The third statement says that Pune was ranked the best city to live in India. This statement is again incorrect as only Delhi and Mumbai were included in this annual index, and apart from this, Vienna, which serves as the capital of Austria, was ranked number 1 on this index. Therefore, our final answer would be option A, that is only the first statement is correct. Please also have a look at the explanations. Question number 75 deals with the Collection of Statistics Amendment Act 2017, and we need to identify that which among the following statements are incorrect. So let us first have a look at this Collection of Statistics Amendment Bill. Firstly, this bill seeks to amend the Collection of Statistics Act 2008. So let us understand in brief what this Collection of Statistics Act 2008 aimed at. It facilitated the collection of statistics related to the socio-economic, demographic, scientific and environmental aspects by the central, state and local governments. At the same time, it allowed for the appointment of statistics officer to collect information and contain provisions to ensure security of information. However, the problem is that this 2008 Act is not applicable to Jammu and Kashmir, and it is due to this reason that an amendment is introduced in this Act, wherein the bill will seek to extend its jurisdiction in Jammu and Kashmir for the collection of statistics pertaining to subjects under the union or concurrent list. These subjects may include citizenship, education, banking, labor and forests. Apart from extending the jurisdiction to Jammu and Kashmir, the bill also provides for the appointment of a nodal officer by the central or state government who will coordinate and supervise statistical activities under the government by whom he is appointed. It is important to note that the powers and duties of this nodal officer will be determined by the central government. Another important provision introduced by this bill was that it will allow the central government to determine the manner in which the information collected will be used, that is either for statistical purposes or for non-statistical purposes. This is done because earlier in the 2008 Act, the information collected under this process can only be used for statistical purposes. So a wider angle is given to this. Now in light of this information, let us go back to our question and find the incorrect statements. The first one says that the statistical data collected under this Act can be used for non-statistical purposes as well. So this is a correct statement because we have just discussed that this is an amendment provided for giving a wider angle to the data collected. The second statement says that the Act is applicable to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. This is again correct because the main purpose behind amending this act was to include Jammu and Kashmir. So we can see that both these statements are correct. Therefore, our final answer would be option D, that is neither 1 nor 2 is incorrect. Please also have a look at the explanations.